Interestingly enough, we started off the show with Leo Kruger versus Antonio Cesaro, the two guys that got involved in the Bo Dallas Invitational last week but got clotheslined out of the ring by Bo Dallas. And I must admit, I don't really want to see these two face off, really. I wasn't too interested in this match, just mainly because these are two heels right now that are kind of getting face pops, and it's just like these two facing off, you know, there's no real face or heel dynamic there. It's more just there. And I guess, you know, Antonio Cesaro was a pretty good match if you look at it from a technical standpoint. But really, in general, I wasn't too interested in this match until Cesaro kept pounding Leo Kruger with everything that he had, and Leo Kruger kept kicking out. And I was thinking to myself, you know, they've been teasing Antonio Cesaro turning face at some point down the line. The way they were booking this, it almost seemed like they were trying to get Kruger over as a face, because some of the stuff he's been doing lately that has been getting somewhat of a response from the crowd. And I've always found Leo Kruger kind of boring, personally. So the stuff he's been doing has been somewhat entertaining, in my opinion. But I'm like, you know, they're trying to. It looks like they may be trying to get Leo Kruger over as a face. You know, which I guess in NXT is always a good thing, because there is a lack of single-star baby faces on there. Apart from later when we get Mojo Rawley, but I'll go on to that later. And I just wonder what you guys think of turning Antonio Cesaro face. There's been teasers that they're doing it. They're doing the swinging maneuver, and they've showcased the fuck out of that. And the We the People thing, especially on NXT, has been very, very over. We've seen him do some face stuff on Raw and pay-per-views, and they followed up on it. How do you feel about Antonio Cesaro turning face down the line? Do you think it could be a good thing or a bad thing? I'm kind of on the fence about it. I want to see a little bit more of this before I make a judgment, but could Antonio Cesaro be a face? I don't think he would be a very exciting face, but I think they would mainly have to base it on some of the wrestling moves he does, like the spinning around, you know, the spinning around on his neck and the spinning around there and, you know, the uppercuts and stuff like that. They'd have to base his face pops more of that than his character if they ever did that, in my opinion. Charlotte versus Santana Garrett was a match, and the only things I really have to say about it is Charlotte won as we kind of expected, as Santana was really there to be enhancement talent. And hasn't Santana had some involvement with TNA or in Shimmer? I recognize that name from somewhere. It must be TNA, and I heard that she did some tryout matches for WWE and some matches down at NXT. It looked like the finish of this match was very, very botched. I can't get the feeling that maybe if a more experienced wrestler did that, they maybe would have done an audible, but as this is a developmental and training, I guess I can't blame them too much there, but the finish was quite botched, and when a finish is botched, it kind of ruins your thoughts on the whole match. Like, you got there, and then the finish is this big moment, and it gets botched. Now, that's why sometimes I like it when wrestlers will do an audible and do it over again sometimes. But it really wasn't about the match, this segment. I was way more interested in the post-match. We had Summer Rae coming out, getting on the mic, saying that she wants to make sure that everyone knows that her and Sasha Banks are the bosses around here. And you get Paige coming out after the beatdown that they gave her last week, the previous weeks with Sasha Banks turning heel. She gets beat down, only to be saved by Emma. You get Summer Rae challenging Emma and Paige to a tag match in the next backstage segment, and then later on in another backstage segment, you have Emma and Paige accepting it, but while also showing tension between those two. So we're going to have a good Divas tag team match next week. Probably the 4 best Divas on the roster now on NXT. And we're still teasing tension between Emma and Paige. You know, who could be the best Diva in NXT? With maybe some Rae thrown in there. So I may still get Emma and Paige too, which I would definitely be all for. But I look forward to that Divas match next week. This has been a storyline that they built quite well. And it is also kind of funny that ever since Paige won the NXT Women's Championship, she's been much less relevant than whatever she was before. I don't know, that's a bit strange. You know, as soon as she won the title, it seems like NXT have been focusing much more on bringing up other Divas, and she's really lost a lot of the spotlight. I mean, really, I think she should be the spotlight of that division along with Summer Rae and Emma. So this week we got our first taste of Mojo Rawley, and I must admit, I can see why WWE officials are high on this guy. I can. You look at him, he has the look. He definitely has the body size. He's 280 pounds, so he's that kind of size that Vince McMahon would love to push. He's got a lot of energy. Seems like the next coming of the Ultimate Warrior with the shit he's doing. He has a semi-interesting gimmick, which could improve over time. It seems like he's gotten immediately over. The crowd were chanting, "Stay hyped, stay hyped." So he's gotten over. And I can see why WWE officials are high on this guy. I really can. He just seems to have that kind of 5 tool, from a developmental standpoint, a sort of 5 tools talent, in my opinion. We've yet to hear his mic skills seem decent in the backstage promos he's been doing, but I look forward to seeing what they do with Mojo Rawley, and I can apparently WWE officials are high on him, and I can totally understand why. One thing I will say about Mojo Rawley, though, I don't know about you, but his finisher kind of sucks. When he just sort of like jumps in the air and sits on them, I don't think that is a very good finisher for like an energetic, I am all hyped guy. I don't know. But could this big guy be the next coming of Ultimate Warrior? I guess we'll find out over these next couple of weeks. But I'm definitely impressed by Mojo Rawley as he went on to beat some British jobber. Yeah, hooray for the Brits. At least we got on the show. Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy versus Scott Dawson and Alexander Rusev was just kind of there, really, in my opinion. The best bit of it, of course, was Enzo Amore and Colin Cassidy interaction on the microphone. Whenever these guys come out, you have to give them a microphone. You have to write a script for them. You have to give them some jokes because they are SAWFT soft! Exactly. And Rusev gets the win here. I imagine this would have been done to continue on the feud and continue sort of like another tag team feud on the show. As I'm a bit unsure as to what they're going to be doing with the Ascension now, as I feel that Adrian Neville and Corey Graves will split off down the line. They attack Colin Cassidy after the match, which is a surefire sign that eventually, this feud will definitely continue on for another month or two, in my opinion. And so, yeah, it was just kind of there. I don't really have too much to say about it. It's just very simple, solid storyline advancement, with not really much to it, really. So it looks like next week we're going to be getting the big match, the match which I have been looking forward to, and I know a lot of other people in the comments section on this video have been looking forward to it for a long time. Sami Zayn versus Bo Dallas is going to be happening next week. I thought they may use that thing they did last week, the Bo Dallas Invitational and the mascot and everything. I thought they may have used that to try and maybe forward this on a little bit more and to start to give Bo Dallas an excuse to not give Sami Zayn a title shot, but it looks like the match is happening. And I liked how this backstage interview went out. You had Sami Zayn just outlining, it's nothing personal with you, Bo Dallas. I just want that belt. Even though you would think it would be a little bit personal, especially after what Bo Dallas did the previous week when he said he wouldn't be allowed in the Bo Dallas Invitational. You kind of think it would be a little bit more personal, not just be about that. But it's kind of interesting, isn't it? This feud is really, they've developed heat between the two, but it's interesting that Sami Zayn comes out and just wants the belt. You don't really get that too much. You get that you don't really get that too much in storylines where the belt is the main focus. And so next week we're going to be seeing the match, and I can't wait for this. I must admit though, when I heard it was going to be happening, I thought I'd be like, oh, brilliant. And I was kind of just like, oh yeah, it will happen next week. I thought I'd be a little bit more hyped for it, but that's probably because I thought I would continue on a little bit more, but I'm definitely looking forward to that match next week. And the show in general next week should be pretty good. You've got that Divas tag match and the main event match, which is going to be Bo Dallas versus Sami Zayn. That's looking like a hell of a show next week. I guarantee you that will be a damn good show. Make sure you watch that. So we found out last week that Rob Van Dam was going to be returning to NXT, or sorry, debuting in NXT, as he's never actually been on the show. And, it was interesting that he went up against Aiden English. I was legit surprised. I thought they would put him up against someone else. But Aiden English, a relatively new character on WWE NXT in the Performance Center they've got right there, he's only really had 2 jobber matches on the show, and he's up against RVD. That's a big thing, You've got to think, WWE must be very high on this guy if they're putting Aiden English, this character that's only just appeared on TV for 2 weeks. They're putting him in the ring with RVD, a legend, or, a guy that's been in the business for 15, 20 years. That's a good stamp of approval, in my opinion. That was like when they put Bray Wyatt against Chris Jericho. And where's Bray Wyatt now? He's on the main roster. I wonder if they could be thinking of taking Aiden English to the main roster. I wouldn't blame them. I like the gimmick. Anyway, my first thoughts on this match was, number one, this is a good match. I have an interesting character in NXT versus a legend in the business in RVD. That could be good. Aiden English versus RVD. My first thought of this match, it wasn't very long. I thought it would be a little bit longer for a main event match. Whether or not this is because Aiden English is still a little bit green, I'm thinking it's that. Or maybe WWE didn't want RVD looking too bad against, or maybe they didn't want the match to be too competitive against a guy who has essentially only just come on the scene and is essentially a rookie and has had essentially 2 matches in NXT ever since he debuted. And it's no real surprise that RVD won. There's no way Aiden English should win here, in my opinion. RVD definitely, he's been going after the World Heavyweight Championship, so imagine if it was a DQ or if he lost. It would have made the World Heavyweight Championship match, or, the matches he's been in, look a little less value and meaningful, in my opinion. But, the concept of putting Aiden English and RVD, that's one of those concepts that I like. Occasionally, every now and then, you'll bring a guy like RVD or Del Rio or Chris Jericho or Big Show and you'll face them up against an NXT guy. And I really like it when WWE do that. It's like, we're giving you this stamp of approval. We want to see how you do against a main roster talent. And we want to see if we can actually bring you to the roster one day. They should do more of this, in my opinion. This is definitely something they could do more with. And I know they have a special attraction, generally goes to the shows. They've had Del Rio there. They've had John Cena there. CM Punk there before when he put over Seth Rollins. And they've done also. I think they should do more of this. This is definitely good if they want to bring up their new talent and they sort of give them some experience with some on-screen talent. Maybe even like they've done with Cesaro, do some mini programs or some programs which could help guys like Sami Zayn and Bo Dallas learn a little bit more when they eventually come onto the roster. Because when Bo Dallas came on the roster a while back, he didn't do anything. He didn't stay there. He went straight back to NXT, and there's a reason for that, because he wasn't experienced enough to be in a storyline and to do backstage interviews, which were terrible. But there we go. Anyway, my overall thoughts on this NXT. It was a good show. I like the main event. A lot of this stuff on the show I found interesting. Or characters here, characters there that I'm really liking. Mojo Rawley. I mean, I really like this Mojo Rawley character. I remember really liking the Roman Reigns character when he first come on board, and the Bray Wyatt character. And I kind of got that same feeling with Mojo Rawley, that it could be some kind of star down the line for WWE. I really feel that. So it was a solid show, in my opinion. Solid to good show. I recommend you definitely watch it. So that even the Divas stuff was pretty good. And, you know, Cesaro and Kruger had a good technical match, even though I wasn't all that interested in the two characters facing off, I must say. So let me know your thoughts on NXT down in the comment section below. I have been Mr. Parkin. I'll see you next week. Same time, same place. Thank you very much for watching this review if you have, and goodbye.